we're really grateful. But prior to that, obviously, you saw me engaging various people, amongst whom we had State Council, John Sangwa. You saw me talking to Mlenga Kapwepwe. I, of course, had a conversation with my colleague, Mr. Harry Kalaba, Honorable Harry Kalaba. We spoke to quite a number of people, political players. President Nason Musoni of All People's Congress, we had a chat with him. And of course, we had internal discussions amongst ourselves within the Patriotic Front party, and several engagements. We've engaged chiefs, we've engaged structures, discussing an array of things that we think go to the very root of the proper governance of this country. We are in an era where we think governance is by trial and error. We are under a government that came that was birthed on a cradle of falsehoods, and now they have run out of lies to tell. And there's need for alternative leadership that brings hope to the people, leadership that answers to the aspirations of the people. And the call to leadership that came from people that we responded to is a call to put things straight, to realign Zambia, to reunite Zambia, to address economic issues that we have discovered or continue to discover even as we go into different provinces touring the country. One of the first places I went to was Eastern Province. You may have noticed that when I went into Eastern Province, got to my home in Eastern Province, there was that harassment from the police where they thought it was illegal assembly as usual. In this era, we have an attempt to stifle dissent, an attempt by this present government to ensure that we do not communicate our views. You saw how that my house was raided by police officers coming and stating that no one should have gathered at my place, which was wrong on their part, because if people are going to visit you, you don't determine how many people are going to visit you. And when people are visiting, they don't pass by the police to say, we are coming to visit you, or we are asking for permission, or indeed we are notifying you that we are going to see Makebi. Nothing of that sort happens. And when people come, you don't chase them away and say, you go back to your homes, this is going to be illegal assembly. So we have had this jitteriness or fear on the part of the government that we would be able to communicate and speak to different people messages of hope in a hopeless situation that we are in right now. And that is what we have been doing, communicating a message of hope, a message of unity to the people out there. You saw how that even when I visited chiefs in Eastern Province, the people that sought to stop me from visiting the chiefs were the police again. We saw that not only in Eastern Province, in Northern Province, it was the same, where the police were ever on our tail. Everywhere we go, the police are ever on our tail. In Western Province, I must say thanks to the Barossa Royal Establishment for announcing and saying that they were there to receive everyone, whether they were from the opposition and or from the government. They were there to receive everyone, and they didn't want any in that process. We had some peace in Western Province, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Barossa Royal Establishment for being very clear that all politicians, everyone, we are all their children, and they can receive us at any given point. But I must highlight a couple of things. The time we were in Eastern Province, that's a time when we could see that there were queues by Indo-Zambia Bank farmers waiting to receive monies for the crop that they had supplied sometime last year to FRA. We witnessed those problems that they were facing them, even after promises by government that they would pay them, but they were not to be paid, or at least there was delay in paying them. When government said that the monies were in the banks, there was no money in the banks, and yet people were made to sleep on queues. Times when the government was saying that they had reserves of up to $5 billion in the bank, but still people were not getting paid out there because obviously money has been misappropriated, misallocated, and farmers were made to wait for a very long time. Uh, Even after the planting season was over, most of the farmers were not paid. You may know that the agricultural sector has not been doing very well under the UPND government. Seed that ought to have been given to the farmers, they never got the amount of seed that they needed. They were sharing in cups. It was in Eastern Province, in Katete in particular, where women from a cooperative who complained that they were not given sufficient fertilizer, sufficient seed, and were seen sharing in cups and medals what they had received as fertilizer as well as seed. Those were arrested. They were arrested for complaining. So you see that we have a government where pronouncing their failures is an offense. It has not only happened in this particular case. We've seen many other opposition leaders who, when they speak, it's either seditious practices or indeed hate speech. We have seen that throughout our political scene for the last 5 years now, or at least getting to 5 years. So the situation in Eastern Province right now, I heard the president right at Nchwala promising a university in Eastern Province. It's quite laughable. I'm saying this because when we went to Western Province, we're told there was a promise of a university in Western Province. And the promise from President Hakainde Hichilema is that the university was going to be built not in the first term, and not in the second term, but within the first term. They got the first term, there's no pebble that has been put in Western Province to show that indeed they are going to work on a university. And yet he goes and promises a university, a public university in Eastern Province. As regards universities, again, in Northern Province, when we visited Northern Province, there was a university that had a contractor had been found that started the construction works, and that was stopped. That was stopped to say that they were investigating things to do with the payment of funds. Then you wonder, you promise a university in your first term in the Western Province, you stop the building of a university in Northern Province, then you go and promise a university in Eastern Province in your last 6 months, or at least 5 months before you are kicked out of government. That is fooling people. That is not being candid with people. It is a culture of lies that has been perpetuated by this government. Our Eastern Province, the comparative advantage of Eastern Province is agriculture. And the farmer out there in Eastern Province, none of them can say that during this tenure of the UPND, they have enjoyed the supply of inputs to them. Even when they were promised 8 bags of fertilizers, even when they were promised more seed, even when they were promised that it would be better because the person that was coming on board said he was a farmer and that he would make sure that farming was going to be a business for them to create wealth. What has happened? The farmer has become more poor. And now it is time to put a president who is going to put the farmer first. And that president is available. And that president is in Makebi Zulu. We are determined to ensure that we transform the agricultural sector. Mechanize it. It doesn't matter where we start from. It could be the handheld machinery, diesel powered or indeed petrol powered, but a farmer must be able, within the farmer input support program, to be able to access such machinery so that we move from hand hose to mechanized farming. We need to do that. We need to take advantage of our irrigation system, or at least the water that we have, and introduce irrigation system that will benefit from the water that we have. We have water that runs away every season when we could dam specific places. The government, or at least under PF, we had started the process of dam construction, because the idea was that in and out of season, we must have crop all year round. We need to move to that as a country. Malawi will always feed from Zambia. Congo will always feed from Zambia, and we need to take advantage of that. We moved from there. Of course, we visited the Copperbelt at some point, where issues of small-scale miners were rife. The idea of simply stopping small-scale miners for purposes of benefiting large conglomerates is what is killing the Copperbelt. The small-scale miners are crying for an opportunity to be able to benefit from the mineral resource. Government has stopped most of these endeavors by the young people on the Copperbelt under the pretext that it was unsafe, under the pretext that they were going to bring in better or indeed bigger investors. In this particular case, why don't we do what Ghana did? They formalized the artisanal mining sector, created a way to ensure that there was safety in the mining in that sector, created a way of collecting taxes that would benefit both the artisanal miners, or indeed the taxes that were reasonable enough to benefit the country and enable the artisanal miners to continue. We cannot afford as a country to create jobs for everyone, but the available opportunities, we can make a way that a legal framework is created under which the artisanal miners on the Copperbelt in northwestern province are able to benefit from that work, from mining within safe environments, create cooperatives, put up safety measures, put up good ways of supervising under the Ministry of Mines, ensure that there is environmental protection in the process. Just these strict measures, but still allow the artisanal miners to go and mine in a safe environment, in a sustainable way. Then you'll be able to create jobs. You won't have situations that have been going on the Copperbelt continuing. We move to Northern Province. In Northern Province and in all these other places, you will see that there are a lot of works that were begun under the previous, the PF government, that have been stopped by this government. The building of a hospital in Northern Province that was going to benefit Luapula Province, Northern Province, as well as Mchinga, was stopped. The building of that university I referred to, is it Ntumba or Ntumba University, was stopped. A facility that was going to help the people in that particular area. District Hospital in Kasama, well, that was not to be. District hospitals around the province that were promised, or that at least that the PF government had started, those works came to a halt. You see that happening, and the complaints that are coming from the chiefs, roads that were started and stopped along the way for no apparent reason, or at least sometimes for a very lame reason. You may have noticed that some time back, the Minister of Infrastructure referred to the Chipata Vubi Road as not being economically viable. Now, if you're going to look at it from the perspective of only constructing roads because they're economically viable, and not understanding that the viability of a place economically has to do with being able to access that place. When people are able to easily access Vubwi, then it becomes economically viable. It's an issue of egg and chicken, which comes first. Accessibility should come first, then the economy of a place is improved, because it will be easier to get to those places. People will not be worried about their vehicles getting damaged to get to those places. And when you get to those places, you increase traffic. People will need a filling station in that place. And commerce will improve in that particular place. These are the issues that this government has not taken into account. Even when they found plans for building of roads in these different areas, Most of them were abandoned under the pretext that they were not economically viable. That should be stopped. We need to get back to the drawing board, give accessibility to the people, build roads that we need to build. In the West, there was a complaint as regards the road. The only road that will get you to Western Province, or indeed Barossiland, is this road from Lusaka, get you there. From there, you can't go anywhere else. The roadworks that were done under PF are the same roads that are there. There's nothing new that has been done. The only thing that this government did was just complete the Limulunga Mongu Road, the road to the palace. That's the only road that they completed. They've been working on an 87-kilometer road for the last 2-3 years. Whether or not they'll finish it within the course of this year, that's not to be known. The onset of the rains obviously have disturbed. But obviously, to come and do things for purposes of an election in these provinces is what is draining the steam from the people, or at least the belief in the UPND. We've had all these experiences. Came to Luapula. Luapula is a place that can thrive. It's a place that can add economically to this country. It is a place that is mineral resourced, properly mineral resourced. It's a place that this government has neglected. Schools that were to be built have not been built, or indeed have been abandoned. Roads that should have been constructed have been abandoned because they have not been prioritized. In terms of education, in all these places that we've gone to, yes, the government says we are providing free education, but how come the teachers are not there? How come the places that you are providing education in are too few? The teacher-pupil ratio is too high. And then you wonder when you start saying that the grades are too low. Particularly, you talk of Western Province and say it has performed poorly. Why has it performed poorly? You, the government, must be able to answer those issues. Look at the teacher-pupil ratio. Look at the quality of teachers that you're taking there. Sometimes we may not even talk about the quality of teachers. What about the amenities, or indeed the accommodation for the teachers, where they're supposed to be living, the conditions in those areas, in those rural areas? What are the conditions of the teachers? When they get there, will they have access to clean water? Will they have access to proper sanitation? Will they have access to proper accommodation? Will they have access to proper teaching materials? Will they have access to communication? All those are things that should be prioritized and worked on. You can't necessarily say they've performed poorly and lament that they've performed poorly without getting to the root cause. And something that was disheartening that we got to learn of in Western Province is the issue of animal husbandry. Western Province, a lot of people depend on rearing cattle in that place. When PF was in power, about 11,000 cattle were dipped. Deep tanks were put in different places. When this government came on board, they abandoned the issue of vaccination. They abandoned issues of dipping the animals. Instead, when they went there, they said we need to slaughter all the cattle in Western Province because of bovine pleural pneumonia that they had referred to, things that were not necessarily things that they could possibly be in control of if they acted earlier, or indeed if they took measures right now to keep the spread of bovine pleural pneumonia. You had all those issues brought, and the only way it was saved is because the Kuta, the Barroso establishment, stood and said, you cannot do that. You cannot kill all the animals in Western Province, which was a good thing. But even with that, you have big companies going there to buy beef. Was it an issue of disadvantaging the province? Was it an issue of allocating business elsewhere? Because right now, I can tell you, the cheapest place where you buy cattle from is Western Province. The cattle that is there is providing employment for most of the people. Why don't we look at that comparative advantage? Go there, invest in the people, invest in your own people, provide veterinary services in every district, make these medicines available for the farmers to access. That should be part of the farmer input support program. It should not just be about growing crop, and or it should even go into animal husbandry. Those are the things that we came across in our roundup of the provinces. And of course, there's more that we need to talk about.
Thank you for
But now
a summary of your tour.
I can
Thank
give
you,
that summary.
Honorable
Yeah.
Makebi Zulu. Dear viewers, we are hosting former MP for Malambo, former Eastern Province Minister, former, is also until recently was a spokesperson for the late president and his family, and he's been a family lawyer. We'll get to that, but he's a PF presidential aspirant, and let's come to that. The Patriotic Front has been deplatformed. Legally, the ownership remains elsewhere with expelled MP Robert Chabinga, who was even pledged to go to the UPND. But of shock to many people is that the Patriotic Front has remained largely intact despite breakaways, despite sustained attack from the state. You were supposed to have a general conference and we were supposed to have a leader by today. Just walk us through the issues surrounding the general conference and the current status of the Patriotic Front.
It's been an interesting journey when you talk about the Patriotic Front Party. Right from the start, immediately after the Patriotic Front government lost power to the UPND, took over, then the fight for the heart and soul of the party began. Firstly, it was about crippling every member of the PF who was seen to be well off, who was seen to have some form of wealth. There was that witch hunt against everyone. Then they went for the heart of the party to ensure that they take it away and ensure that it does not appear on the ballot. Now, PF is demonized. PF is said to be corrupt. PF is said to be evil. PF is said to be everything that's not right, at least by the standards of the UPND. And having won by over 1 million votes, the fear of PF has been rife. It has been rife because they know that the accusations against the PF are ordinarily false, or at least the majority of the accusations are false. Because you can't say that the PF was bad and you still accept its people. Let me give a little analogy. When Chabinga was said to be the leader of the Patriotic Front Party, at last year's Nchwala ceremony, with the president there putting his hands together, listened in to Chabinga, when Chabinga said PF was in an alliance with the UPND. That was welcome by the president. It was welcome that this Chabinga-led PF is in an alliance with the UPND. If indeed PF was bad, if indeed PF was that evil, and I was president, I would say, no, I will not be equally yoked with the corrupt. I will not relate with the PF. PF is a fiction, as it were. It's a fiction in that it is not just a name. It is the people that constitute it, that make up what PF is. Why would you say PF in terms of the name is bad, but its people are good? Look at what has happened in this year's Nchwala, where most of the MPs host UPND, and now they're on rampage trying to ransack the membership of PF to join the UPND. In my language, there's a saying that manchinchi, omkana na mangala bake. Now, what does it mean? An owl, no matter how bad you think an owl is, you can't say feathers of an owl, but the owl is evil. If you're going to accept an owl, you will accept it with its feathers. If you're going to reject it, you will reject it with its feathers. You can't say the PF is bad, but its people are good, because they're the ones that constitute the PF. So we have had that. Now there is this issue of